Hi, I'm Leila. Welcome to Getting Started with Belly Dance. We've designed this DVD with 3 sections. The first section, it's going to be instruction of the basic movements of belly dance. So this is very important that you master this section before moving on to the second section. The second section, we've taken these basic movements and we've started to move across the floor with them. We're adding and building, combining a few of the movements together. After this second section, there's a third section. In the Middle East, when people teach belly dance, they usually have one dancer dancing and the student is following behind her. So we've kind of taken a little bit of Middle Eastern style instruction, and the third section, I'm dancing and you're following with the movements that I've taught you in section 1 and 2. So here are a few words of caution while using the DVD. Belly dance is very intensive in the center of your body. It also involves a lot of work with the knees and the hips. So if you have any issues with your back or your knees, take care. And before each section where we're doing knee or back intensive movements, I usually tell you start slowly, warm up. If anything hurts, then you don't want to do it. But just take care. If you have back issues or knee issues, or even if something doesn't feel good to you, just stop. Maybe back up with the DVD and start doing the movements just a little bit smaller, a little bit easier. Don't force anything. So enjoy the DVD, have a good time. It's really about having fun. Many people believe that belly dance was first practiced to help women prepare for childbirth. Because of the intensive movements in the abdomen, the strengthening of the abdomen, people believe that women used belly dance to prepare for childbirth. And also people believe that belly dance was a fertility dance. The movements kind of tend to have people believe that it worked for fertility. Also, still in Egypt, at some weddings, the belly dancer will come and the bride and the groom will, or the bride specifically, will touch the belly dancer's stomach. It symbolizes fertility. This is not known for sure. We don't know exactly the origins or the reasons that belly dance was practiced initially, but this is what people believe. There are many different types of belly dance. There is the belly dance practice in Egypt, also different stylistically type of belly dance in Lebanon, Turkey, Morocco. Even America has its own form of belly dance called American Tribal, and that's a bunch of different forms of dance put together, including East Indian. So there are many different types of belly dance. I particularly have focused on Egyptian style, and this DVD I've taught mainly Egyptian style. But there are also a few other little nuances from other, maybe a little bit from Lebanese, a little bit from Turkish, because they all borrow from each other. Belly dance is very good for strengthening the core, the center of your body, because it's focused around the center, the hips, the stomach. It really strengthens there. It builds stamina for those muscles on the side. Kind of those muscles that we in the West tend to let go. It's also good for cardio. If you continue dancing, if you work up a sweat, you're breathing, it's a nice exercise. It's also good for many different body types. It doesn't need a specific body type. Some dances I know prefer to have a very slender, slim body. And belly dance almost needs a bit of meat, you know, just so you can see the results of the movements you're making. I think it's lovely because it builds self-esteem. It builds self-esteem. And because you are a single dancer, at least some people dance as a soloist. There are troupes. But it also builds a sense of individuality because it's not standardized. You can pick and choose as you like. Once you learn the basic movements well, you can start to build on those with your own character, with your own style, with your own flair. So that's nice. If you decide to dance in a group, then you have a sense of community with the other women who are dancing with you. And I think it also exposes you to other cultures. So for me, I've had a huge exposure to Middle Eastern culture, music, art, media, because of my interest in dance. And I think if someone is interested in pursuing that, they can find out so many different amazing things through the venue of belly dance that they didn't know about a different culture, Middle Eastern culture in particular. This section is the beginning section where I'm discussing basic movements of belly dance. So the important thing about this section is that you don't get discouraged. Watch the DVD over and over again. If you don't understand something, put it away and try again tomorrow. Because you have different attitudes every day, you have different feelings, and one day it just may click for you. Take care, because this is your first time dancing, belly dance, and it's using a lot of different muscles that you may not have used before. Something that is really important is that you master the first section before moving on to the second section, because you don't want to jump ahead too soon and then become discouraged or confused. Enjoy. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about posture. We can start with our feet hip width apart. Relax the body. Relax the torso, relax the head. Everything should be stacked on top of each other. So a few things you don't want to be doing. You don't want to be leaning back, where you feel your stomach muscles engage. You don't want to be leaning too far forward where you feel your toes gripping into the floor. You also don't want to be tilting your pelvis. It's easier to see from the side. You don't want to be tilting your pelvis forward so that your back is contracted, and you also don't want to be tucked. And I'm doing this to the extreme. Most people, when they do this with their posture, they have a little bit of slight tucking or a little bit of contraction here in their back. I think it's best if you can stay in a neutral position, a position that feels good when you move. A good way to find that is to start to collapse the shoulders round the back. And now we'll take it up. And we're going to be pulled up on the toes as if someone has a string through your head and they're pulling you up. Now you're going to set yourself back down, release everything. And this is a very stable, nice posture to work from. I'll do it from the side. Collapse. Take it up. I'm being pulled up through the middle of my head from a string. And I'm setting down. Notice how I'm very slightly forward. I'm not actually straight up and down. I'm slightly forward. And you should feel everything release in the front of your body. You shouldn't feel any tension in the back of your body. It's a very stable starting point. Most Egyptian style dance is done with a straight leg. There are some times when we have a slight bend in our knee. Just a little bit of flexibility. And always keep your knees soft. Never push back. Never push back with your knees to as far as they can go. You always need a little softness in your knees. Yeah? Nice arm position. Breathing, relaxing through here. No holding. Breath coming through here. Your breath should be moving through the entire torso. And the arms up. It's a nice position to start with. Let's take a big breath. And release. So now I'd like to talk about some basic arm postures and arm movement and hand movements in belly dance. So let's start with our posture that we discussed in the first section. Relaxed, breathing, shoulders down. Not pulled down, but in a nice, comfortable position. And let's take the arms up here. So this is a very typical arm posture. You don't want the arms here straight. You want them relaxed here, elbows down, hands generally down or comfortable. This is a very common arm posture, and you'll see this a lot later on in the DVD. And also here, this L shape. people tend to focus on the shoulders, they tend to tighten them. It's just our tendency to pull up and to have a lot of tension in the shoulders. So you can think of releasing that tension and lengthening the neck and being very comfortable with your arms out or up. Yeah. You can turn the hands in. So you use your arms a lot as a frame. Here I'm framing my head. And here framing my hips. Yeah. So now we'll move on to the hands. This is a very nice hand movement. And to do this movement, you can think of having a bowl of frosting, like when you were a kid, and you want to take that frosting off of the inside of the bowl. So you're taking it off, taking it off. Yeah, and with the other hand. So I start with my palms facing out, and I'm taking the frosting off of the inside of the bowl. Yeah. So you can do this with any arm position. If I want to, let's say I have my bowl of frosting here, it's the same hand movement. And of course here. So again from the front. Now I'm going to take this movement out to the side. So all I'm doing is moving my arms. The hands are doing exactly the same thing. And there is a little bit of tension in the hand. You don't want the hand to be limp. Yeah? You have a little bit of tension there. Now let's take the arms overhead. So here I have two bowls of frosting above me. And I'm still relaxed. I'm still breathing. And now we're going to keep the hands going. And one is going to come down in front of me, and then out to the side. And it's going to meet the other hand overhead. Let's do that one more time. I'm going to bring both hands down and take them up. And again from the front. Yeah? So let's move on to shoulders. And the shoulders, we're going to start with a shoulder roll. Yeah? So from the side. My shoulder goes forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. And then we start to make a smooth circle with it. So instead of here, where I'm hitting the points, I'm rolling my shoulder back. Let's look at it from the other side. Yeah, let's try both shoulders together. So So this isn't particularly a move that we use in Middle Eastern dance, but when we start to alternate the shoulders, one and then the other, one and the other. This is something that we use. And take care that you're not tensing up. You're not tensing here through the jaw. You're not bringing your shoulders up. Yeah, relax. Breathe. Think about the tension that's happening here in your stomach and your abdomen. Are you pulling in to get your shoulders up? No. Yeah, release. Everything is nice and easy. Yeah, and your face also. Your face is also relaxed. No jaw clenching. And notice my hands. They're just following along. Now I'm going to start to lift my arms. So I'm still rolling the shoulders. And the rest of my arms and the hands, they're just following the shoulder roll. Now I'm leaning slightly forward. Yeah? Slightly forward. And from the side. Yeah, so this is nice and easy. With a slight plie. And the arms lifting again. Breathing. So another shoulder movement, a shoulder shimmy. You start this movement by moving the shoulders forward and back, forward and back. So I'm taking one shoulder from the side, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. And from the other side. Yeah. From the front, I'll do one at a time. Now with the tempo of the music. And again, the shoulders going forward, forward, forward. It's a small movement, yeah? I'm not here. You can do this, you can play with this movement after, but in learning, keep everything within a comfortable area of your body. You don't want to stretch things, overstretch things, because if you haven't done belly dance, you might be using muscles you've never used before, so you don't want to end up sore in the morning. You don't want to end up with a neck ache. So little movements. Yeah, so I'm going one at a time. Now I'm going to alternate. Yeah, one and the other. So the idea of a shoulder shimmy then, we can use the shoulder, this shoulder pop, I guess you would call it, for an accent. Yeah? And this leads into a shoulder shimmy where I'm moving one after another fairly quickly. So back and forth, one and one and one and one and. So this is going forward back and this is going forward back, but I'm alternating them. First one, then the other, one, then the other, one, then the other, one, then the other, yeah? So the idea of this then is to speed it up. So we get them going pretty quickly. This is at tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Yeah, so my shoulders are alternating, going back and forth fairly quickly. Yeah. So now to stylize this in the Egyptian style, you concentrate less on the shoulders and you let the movement travel into your chest. So I start to forget about my shoulders moving quickly, and I start to put my focus, my attention on my chest. So the shoulders are still moving, but I've forgotten about the shoulders, and I've released all the tension in my chest, and I've let the move travel down. Yeah? So I just want you to see the difference. Here I'm thinking about my shoulders moving forward and back. And here I'm thinking about letting the movement go into my chest. And my chest should be relaxed anyways. Going back to the basic posture, I'm breathing through the chest. I'm not holding it. I'm not tensing it. The chest is relaxed. So when you start to move your shoulders forward and back, the chest kind of naturally follows from that. Yeah? Breathing. Think about what you're doing here. Are you contracting? Are you pulling in? Are you tense? Release that. A nice solid base. Yeah, let the air move up and down through your body. What you're doing shouldn't affect your breathing. So I'm not doing these movements by holding my breath or by breathing in and out, yeah? These are muscle things independent of the breath. Yeah. So now I'm going to lean slightly forward and slightly forward. From the side. Now I'm just putting my weight from one foot to the other. It's nice and easy. Breathing. Relaxing the shoulders, just letting them go, yeah? And you can think about the tempo of the music also. You don't want to be outside of the tempo of the music. So if my music, I have to listen to my music and find the shoulder shimmy that fits within the music, yeah? I'm keeping the beat with my shoulders and my chest. Let's take the arms up overhead and down into a nice shoulder roll. And into an easy shoulder shimmy. And back to one shoulder. And let's alternate. And shimmy. Let's take the arms overhead. Nice breath and come down. So now let's move on to some arm movements. So let's start with this movement. So I'm going to break it down for you. We'll start with just one arm. Imagine that you're holding a basketball right in here, yeah? So my basketball is here, and I'm holding on to it till I get to a certain point, and then I just gently let it go and it falls to the ground. Yeah, one more time. So I'm holding the basketball, I'm holding on to it, and then it just falls to the ground when my arm moves off of it. Yeah. So then, as my arm has come up, I've dropped my basketball, I let my elbow fall, my wrist, and my hand. Yeah? So I've got my basketball, and I let it go, and then the elbow, wrist, and hand follow through. So let's try it on the other side. Basketball, I'm holding it up here, and then I just gently let it go. And pulling it up, and gently let it go. And one more time, I'm holding on to it, and there, I've released it, and the hand follows through. Yeah? So you don't want to get a breakdancing look where you're here. Yeah? You want to keep it all smooth, relax. Again, shoulders relaxed. I'm very relaxed. I'm holding the basketball. It's coming up, and then I've released it, and it's all coming down. Yeah? And on the other side, coming up, releasing it, and everything follows from there. So I've got my elbow, wrist, and hand, elbow, wrist, and hand. Very soft. So one arm, and the other arm. And one arm, and the other arm. So the idea then is to do one arm and the other arm in succession. So this arm is up, I'm holding my basketball just as I've released it. I start to bring the other arm up, and then I've released that basketball, and each arm then goes one after another. Yeah, so here's the basketball on this side. I'm dropping it and I'm picking it up on the other side. So one after another. We'll just keep this going for a few minutes. And so also I think when people tend to first start learning this movement, they tend to start with the shoulder. So the movement kind of starts with the shoulder going up and then the elbow and wrist. And that, that's giving you a different kind of look. We want everything to be a little bit sexy, a little bit relaxed, a little bit sensual, yeah? So instead of concentrating on the shoulder going up, think about breathing, the shoulder's coming down, and we're lifting really from the arm and not the shoulder. So it doesn't start here. It starts here, yeah? And the other side, starting from here. And let's keep it going just for a few minutes. And don't worry if you don't get this the first time. It's not really an easy movement. We don't do this in our normal lives. So just keep working on it. Work on one arm at a time. If you just really can't get it, do one arm. And then do the other arm. And then try and put them together. Yeah? So what we're going to do then is we're going to take this arm that I'm starting with the basketball, and I'm going to take it all the way overhead. So then when I come back, I do the same movement. It's just a little bit larger. So I'm coming up, everything's following. I've already dropped my basketball. And then at the top, I start to descend, and then the hand goes up and over. Yeah? Let's try it on the other arm. We've got the basketball, it's dropped, and here the hand follows from the top of the movement. Yeah? And coming down. And the other arm going up. And the last thing is the hands. So now we're going to put these together, one arm after another. So let's take this arm all the way up. Yeah? And then the other arm starts to come up as the first arm is going down. And the hands at the end start to make a little frame. So as this hand falls over, this hand starts to curve in a little bit. And some people call these snake arms. You can kind of see why. It's very snake looking. And again, breathing, and the shoulders down. You can kind of think of something snaky, something serpentine, and let's take it back to the center. Yeah? So what we can do then is we can keep the arms going, but we just change the position of the arms so that I've got this movement in front. It's exactly the same movement. So I'm doing exactly the same thing with my arms, one following the other. I'm just moving them to the front of my body. Yeah. And sometimes that gets confusing when you start changing arm positions. We'll just keep it here for a second. And let's look at it from the side. Yeah, so you can see, it's the same movement. I've just changed the position of my arms. Let's take it back to the side. And a little bit bigger. And a little bit bigger. So I'm going to do it very slowly now. I'm going to change to the front very slowly. And again, this is a kind of sensual, snaky movement, so you don't want a lot of tension. And you don't want breakdancing, huh? Keep it flowing. Let's take it back to the front. We're gonna do kind of what we did with the shoulder shimmy. We're gonna take it forward, lean a little bit forward. Yeah. We can do this on the diagonal. So I'm going to do this a little bit larger in front of my face. And then I'm going to start to bring the arms back to this position. But I'm still doing exactly the same thing. So I'm moving my hands like this. I've just changed the arm position so that my arms are bent here. Yeah, they go from here to here. And I don't know why, but when you do this, it seems to get much more complicated. Beginners generally can do this movement, but when it comes to this movement, something goes haywire here. But it's exactly the same movement. So we start here, and we just bring the hands, they keep moving, and the arms come right in front of the body. And I'll do this really slowly, again, in leading with the elbow, the wrist, and the hand. Elbow, wrist, and hand. Here's one arm. And the other arm. And this is even nice with one arm. And together. So this can kind of frame your face. And very, very slowly. And let's take it back. Yeah. And again to the side. And don't forget your snake feeling. And back down to the center. And back to the front. So I'm just turning my body position. And again, framing your face. Elbow, wrist, hand. Elbow, wrist, hand. Yeah. Is it getting easier? And we'll just change each arm position. Back out to the side. And let's take the arms up overhead. So something nice about Middle Eastern dance is that your hands are generally between here, here, and here. you're holding your hands up a lot. So you get a lot of workout, you get a lot of strength in your shoulders and your torso. And for women who have a little bit of meat up here, it's actually good because the idea is to kind of get everything moving. So if you have a little bit more to move, then it looks even better, I think. Especially with the shoulder shimmy, yeah? A lot of times in the West, we're taught that this is just really unattractive, right? Well, with Middle Eastern dance, it kind of adds that extra element of movement. And also having a little bit more here too, and a little bit more of meat on the shoulders, it kind of gives you, these things start to move, these things start to move. Yeah? And it's nice, I think. Yeah, with here. If you have a little bit more to move. So now I'm just going to put all of the movements that we've talked about, kind of one right after another, and I'll keep talking you through them and see if we can't go from one to another. So let's start with the hands. I'm going to start with the hands out here. Remember the bowls of frosting. Yeah. So I'm taking the frosting off and putting it back on. So let's go to the side. And take it overhead. And out front. And now let's take one hand down. And out to the side and up. Now I've crossed my arms, and I'm coming down in front. And one more time. So cross your hands. This is very nice. And we'll take it with the shoulder. Some snake arms. And to the front. Yeah. And a little diagonal. And we'll lean forward just slightly and come back. We'll take it to the other side, leaning forward slightly and come back. Now going back out to the side, a big snake arm. And take your arms to the center with a little shoulder pop. Nice and gentle. A little flirty. And a little shoulder shimmy. And release everything there. Don't be tense. Don't fight what you were given, huh? And a little shoulder roll. Let the arms follow along. We'll take it up with one last stretch. Nice breath in and release. So now we're going to look at circles with the hips. So let's just start with the posture again. My feet are about hip width apart. Relaxed. Slightly forward. I'm breathing. And remember this arm position where the shoulders are down? We're going to start with this. So let's start with the hips. We're just going to push them from side to side. So I lean and push this hip out to one side and make little movements to start with. Yeah, if you're not used to belly dancing, those muscles in there maybe aren't, they're not stretched, they're not toned. That's what this will do for you. So just make little movements. We're gonna start easy and we'll build up. So I'm just pushing my hip to this side. Breathing. Yeah. And if it's easier for you, you can take a little bit wider stance. Yeah, you don't have to have your feet directly under your hips. You can take a little bit wider stance. And breathe. And just push the hip out to one side. Since your knees are not bent, you don't have this movement going on. My knees are straight. Yeah. So just push it out to one side. Let's take it to the other side. Gently at first. Yeah, releasing those muscles. No holding here. Yeah. So now let's go back and forth. Yeah. Should feel nice and easy. And breathing. And notice just as you're doing this, the change of weight. This is going to become important later on. So as I lean to this side, the weight becomes centered over this leg. As I lean to this side, the weight becomes centered over this leg, slightly. You feel a slight shift of weight. So I'm not doing this with my upper body as my hips go from side to side, right? The idea is to have some isolation. Isolation here. So you want to keep your upper body fairly still. I mean, you don't want to be rigid by any means. There's going to be some movement. Whatever feels natural to you. And of course, you can look in the mirror and see if you are leaning from side to side with your hips. Yeah, that might be a good thing to do just as you get started. And breathing. So now we're going to do something similar. We're going to take the movement forward and back. So I'm going to do it from the side. I push my hips slightly forward. And this isn't a contraction in the back or a lifting or pushing with the chest. My chest and my back pretty much stay in the same position. I just push my hips through here to get them forward. So here is my normal stance. I'm pushing my hips forward. And I'm breathing. And this isn't something that you do every day. So take a little care, yeah? Take a little care that you're not pitching forward, that it's not putting pressure on your back, because belly dance can be a bit back intensive. It can be. And if you have back problems, it can help to strengthen your back, but it can also be a little bit taxing at first. So take care from your back, make this movement very small. Breathe. So from center then, I'm going to also go back. Yeah? I'm just pushing back through my hips. It's as if I have kind of a cord going through me and I'm sliding along this cord. My hips are going back toward the wall along this cord. And of course I use my abdomen here. I use those muscles here to help support me. And I also use those muscles to help support me in the front. It's a much better idea to use the stomach muscles than to use the back muscles. Of course, you want to strengthen and build your back, but these muscles are generally stronger. So you want to think about those muscles pulling forward and back. And of course, breathing. So from the front. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of hit the 4 points of a circle. We're going to go forward, to the side, to the back, and to the other side. So forward, side, back, side. Forward, side, back, side, and forward. Let's take it to the other side. Forward, side, back, side, forward, side, back, side, and forward. So now we're going to circle those. We're going to kind of use those 4 points and draw a circle around them. So let's start in the front, circle to the side, circle to the back, and the other side. Front, side, back, side, front, side, back, side, and front. Let's take it to the other side. Front, side, back, side, front, side, back, side. Again, front, side, back, and side. So I'm going to circle the other direction and think about your feet. What are your feet doing? Where's the weight going? When I'm in the front, it's distributed equally. As I go over to the side, I carry more of my weight on this foot. Back, it becomes equal again. And this side, I'm carrying a little bit more here on this side. And this, again, becomes important later on. Yeah, so I'm circling. Circle and think about your feet. And go at the tempo that you feel comfortable with. You don't necessarily have to follow me. Although I wouldn't suggest going quickly. This is kind of for the whole DVD. I wouldn't suggest going more quickly than I do if you've never danced before, belly danced, because you tend to not really understand the movements. Sometimes you can do them quickly, but you can't slow them down. So if you, at the beginning, you really want to try and do them slowly. But the more you watch this DVD, of course, you can go a little faster. And I'm going to reverse the circle. And make sure you're breathing, your shoulders are down. Yeah. It should feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then you're probably not doing it right. Yeah? It's kind of nice to stretch those muscles out. And of course, strengthen them at the same time. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my feet a little bit closer together, and I'm going to do a smaller circle. Now that your muscles are kind of understanding what needs to happen, we're going to put the feet, be hip width apart. And we're going to take it forward and side and back and side. And notice it becomes a bit more muscle intensive, right? I'm doing smaller movements. Yeah? I'm circling a very small circle. And these muscles here in the stomach are facilitating that. And again, breathing, and this part of your body should be relaxed. Yeah? The back, your butt should be relaxed. You don't want to be tense through there because it brings tension all the way up through here. Yeah? Relax. Again, posture. So we're going to take it to the other side of this small circle. Breathing. Thinking about the weight change on your feet. And reverse one more time. Okay, now I'm going to do something completely opposite of that. I'm going to take a really big circle. So I'm going to step with my foot. I'm going to step with my foot and my hips. I have the forward in the front, but I have a pretty large, wide stance. So when I take it to the front from the side, so you can see, my knees are going to bend a little bit. Yeah, because I need to support myself here. I don't want to bend from here. This is very hard on the back. Support the knees. I have this cord running through me. The hips follow here. Yeah? Notice how my knees and my legs are helping me to bend backwards. Yeah, I'm not bending from here. So I go forward, and forward, and forward. I'm bending my knees. Yeah? And this probably isn't something that you do every day. So again, take care. Take care that you're letting these large muscles in your legs help support this movement. So now we're going to take it, as we did with the other circle, we're going to take it to the back. Yeah? And of course my stomach muscles are helping support that. And this movement is something that's, I think, pretty specific to Egyptian styling. I see it in other Middle Eastern forms, Lebanese and Turkish, but it has a very distinctive place in Middle Eastern dance, this big movement in specifically Egyptian dance. Yeah? Okay. So now as I move to the side, I'm going to bend my knee. So I've gone forward and back. We're going to do the side. I'm going to bend slightly my knee and push my hip out. It's a big push. But it's the same. I'm just using my knee to kind of get my hips over here. Here's the push that we did earlier. My knees are straight. And here's this push. Now let's take it to the other side. Slight bend in the outside knee. So you probably see where this is going. This is a big hip circle. So I take a step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the circle to the side, not to the front. I'm going to start it to the side and to the back and to the side and to the front. Back, side, and front. Now I'm going to circle it. And I'm going to come up with my feet together. So this is sexy, I think. Yeah, let's take it to the other side. And again, you know, when you start, if you continue on with dance, of course you have to decide when you use each of these movements. You know, this probably has its time and its place inside of your dance. But it's nice also because it's a good stretch. As I'm here, I'm stretching these muscles, working them. Here, I'm stretching these muscles. Here, I'm back through here. Again, in this situation when I'm back, don't lock your knees, yeah? Never, I can say never completely lock your knees. You want to have some softness in your knees. Like yoga, you don't want your knees, I don't know if you can see this, you don't want your knees completely to the end of where they can go. Keep a little bit of softness in them. And the idea of the dance is soft, yeah? So when I'm back, I have a softness in my knees. There's kind of a softness here. I'm breathing. So let's take this big circle, again to the right. We're going to start in the front this time, to the side, and back, and circle it to the side. Yeah, I'm supported. And what I'm doing with my hands is that they're going opposite of my hips. And we'll finish here. Let's take it to the other side. We're going to start to the front. And side, back, side. Notice the knee bending. And again, this should feel good. If it doesn't feel good, if it's stretching, straining, if you're having hip or knee issues, then don't do this. Start slowly and build up. Yeah? So we've got hip pushes and hip circles. Yeah, to the other side. And smaller hip circles. Let's just keep this going. Yeah, feel the muscles working. And I think what's nice about this dance form is that, I've changed directions, is that it strengthens you without necessarily, unless you are a professional Middle Eastern dancer, without giving you a real cut look or a real fit look. You get this kind of softness but strength, and I think it's really lovely. Yes, so circle, and now we're going to take a big circle by taking a step, and with support. And take a step with support, going around. All right, so let's just try, those were the circles. Let's try and do some figure eights now. So I'm going to start that off by doing a little bit of a twist from the center. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one hip and twisting it forward and back. And you can think of working on one hip at this point. Both of your hips are going to twist. If you twist one hip, the other one twists. But I'm thinking about this hip at the moment. I'm twisting this hip forward and back. And breathing, shoulders relaxed, smiling. If you smile, you relax. And let's take this hip. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that twist at the end of a push. This push that we used earlier. I'm going to push to one side and twist at the end of that push. So just try that for a second. And we'll take it over to the other side and twist. Yeah, is that working for you? Forward and back, and slide and forward and back. So now we'll take this push to this side, twist to the front, so this hip is going forward. Now I'm going to slide on the diagonal to the back. So this, let's just go through that for a second. I'm pushed here, twisted, and I'm sliding on the diagonal. Yeah? Let's do it on the other side. So we're going to twist here to the front and slide on the diagonal. So to complete the movement, I'll go push to the side, twist to the front, and slide to the back. Now I'm going to twist to the front, slide to the back, twist to the front, slide to the back, twist and slide, twist and slide, twist and slide, twist and slide, twist and slide. And now we're going to take the rough edges off, twisting and sliding. So we're creating a nice fluid figure eight. Yeah? And your chest should be fairly still. It shouldn't be rigid. It shouldn't be rigid. Have some softness to it. Let it go along slightly with what's happening, but try and keep it fairly still. Back, twist, back, and twist. So we're hitting each of those points, but we're threading them together. And your knees should be soft. You're not locking your knees or bending them. Again, breathing. And letting your chest go slightly with your hips. Don't be rigid with your chest, but try to keep it a little bit still. Okay, so we'll take it to the center again, and we'll reverse that figure eight. So go to the side, and instead of twisting to the front, twist to the back. Slide through to the front, twist to the back. Slide through to the front, twist to the back. Slide through to the front, twist to the back, and slide to the front, twist to the back. So now we're going to put those together. Slide, twist, slide, and twist. So now we've reversed the figure eight. But we're doing the same thing as we did before, we're just going to the back instead of to the front. And to reverse again, we're going to the front. And to the back. So that's a horizontal figure eight. Now we're going to start to work with some vertical movements. That means up and down with the hips. So it's the same idea as pushing to each side, but instead of moving forward and back, we're going to lift the hip up. So the hip is actually going to come up. So let's just do this for a second, warming up the hip. What I'm doing is I'm standing on one foot, and I'm just bringing the hip up and down. The hip, I'm not standing on. So I have my weight on one foot and the opposite hip is coming up, just to warm up a little bit. Yeah, and now step on the other foot and that free hip coming up. Yeah. So we want the hip again, just a little push up, and the other hip. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to push to the side and we're going to lift this hip up, the side that we're pushing to, up and down. Up and down. Up and down. So I can make a circle with my hip, just this hip. It's going to be half of the figure 8. So I'm circling in, because I've pushed to the side and I've lifted up into the inside. Yeah, so let's try it with the other hip. Push to the side and lift up and to the inside. So I'm lifting up and I'm setting down. I'm going out, lifting up, setting down. Just circling one hip to the inside. And you can make this small, it doesn't have to be a very big movement. I'm just circling one side of my hips. Now we're going to put those two circles together in a figure 8. So push to the side, lift the hip up, and let it drop through to the other side. So now I'm extended to the other side. I pick the other hip up, and I drop all the way through to a push on the other side. And my knees are still straight. I haven't bent my knees. So what I'm doing is, if you can see my feet, my foot is coming up each time I push my hip over. Yeah, I'm lifting my heel of the hip that's up off the floor. Yeah, so let's just do a few of these together. Push and lift, push and lift, push and lift. And this is really intensive here. Yeah, you're really working those muscles. Yeah. So instead now of lifting the hip, I've pushed to this side and I'm lifting the hip that I've pushed to the side. Instead of that, I'm going to push to this side and I'm going to lift the other hip. Instead of lifting this hip, I'm going to lift the inside hip. Does that make sense? So I'm pushing to this direction, but I'm lifting this hip. Yeah, making a small circle with it. Yeah, it's the same movement. I'm just thinking about a different hip. Yeah, so let's take it to the other side. We'll push to this side. Yeah, and we'll push up. So now we're going to put those together. So I'm using this hip that I've pushed to the opposite side and lifting them up. So I'm pushing, lifting, pushing and lifting. Again, the knees soft, but not bent. So this one is kind of gooey. Yeah, you get it's a bit earthier. Yeah, because we're kind of going to we're going to the inside. Yeah, this is the other one that we did, where we lifted the hip that was extended. So let's just look at the difference. Yeah, now I'm lifting the hip on the inside. Yeah, and circles, just one hip at a time, and the other direction. Yeah, and this hip. And we can go the other direction. and figure 8. The first one that we did, and figure 8 the second one we did. And breathing. Relax, relax the chest. Yeah, and let's just take the arms up and down. Yeah, so we're gonna try a completely different kind of circle now. So what we've done so far, we've circled horizontally. Yeah, we've done figure 8s horizontally. We've done figure 8s vertically, both directions. And now we're gonna start to incorporate a pelvic tilt. So what will happen, and a word of caution with this, you want to start very, very small. And even professional dancers, they don't overuse this movement and they don't do it to the end of the movement. You want to keep this between a very comfortable range, because what you're doing, and you can bend the knees slightly for this, is you're using these muscles, releasing and pulling in. And what it will do is it will slightly tilt the pelvis forward and back, forward and back. So when I was talking about posture in the beginning, I was saying you don't want to stand in a posture with any kind of pelvic tilt. If you're starting to dance like this, or you're starting to dance like this, it really limits the movement you have here and how you can use this. So get in, let's talk about posture again. We'll get in a nice posture, slightly forward, relaxed, and we're gonna bend the knees slightly. So my knees are slightly bent. I'll do this on the diagonal so it's easier to see. Yeah? So you pull in with the stomach muscles, and then you release the stomach muscles. Pull in and release. Pull in and release. And I don't really like to think about the release in the back. I like to think about it in the stomach, because I think if you put your attention in your back, you're gonna start contracting in the back, and then that's gonna start causing back problems. So we want belly dance to help overcome back problems and not cause them. Yeah? So think about it in the stomach. Think about releasing the stomach muscles and contracting, releasing and contracting. Yeah, so my pelvis is tilting forward and back. It's gonna tilt a bit more forward than it does back. Yeah? Again, probably not something you do every day. So go slowly. Yeah, make a tiny little movement. It doesn't have to be a huge movement. Yeah, just to get the feel of it. Again, remember the knees are bent. This is the first time we've bent the knees. And breathing. Yeah, and from the front. So the movement, the circle that I'm going to use this in is an African-inspired circle, but it's used quite often in Egyptian-style belly dance. And you can start this, we can do this in 4s like we did the other circle. We'll start pulling in, and then we're going to roll to the side. So this, we're going to roll into this hip by dropping and bending the other knee. Then we're going to roll it to the back, to the side, and to the front. So we can take it in 4s, we can call this 1. I'm contracted in 1. I'm releasing over to this side, 2. I'm releasing the stomach in the front, 3. And I'm contracting here on this side. I'm bringing the hip up slightly. So my hips are moving. Hip is going up slightly. And then in on the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you look at my knees, you can see that my knees are kind of dictating what I'm doing on each side. And again, you want to be relaxed. So I'm hitting each of those 4 corners. 1, over into this hip, and this is not here. So look at the difference between here and here. Let's just stand for a second with the knees bent and move the hip up and down, up and down, up and down. And this hip up and down, up and down, up and down. My knees are bent. Yeah? So a difference between this and this. Yeah? So in on 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. and 1. Let's go the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So let's roll it all together like we did with the other movements in a circle. So it looks like this. Pulled in on the front, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's rolling and breathing and relaxed. So in the front, I'm contracted in with my stomach muscles. In the back, they're released. Think of it as a release of the stomach and not a contraction of the back. And I'm rolling into this hip. It's coming up slightly, and then this hip is coming up slightly. Yeah? So let's stop it in the front. And we'll go the other side slowly. Front, side, back, side, front, side, back, side. And now we start to roll. Yeah. And it's kind of as if it's a circle using both vertical and horizontal movements at the same time. Yeah, and let's just straighten the knees and just release all the way down through a little shake. Little shake of the hips, little twist. Yeah, and we'll start over, okay? So from here, bend the knees, pulling in and rolling up and around through and breathing. So this is the African circle, or I've heard another term, I've heard it called Ami. And I want to show it to you from the side on the diagonal and profile. Yeah, from the front. I'll reverse the direction. Diagonal. And from the front, also notice where the weight is. As I go from one side to the other, the weight distributes slightly to one side than the other. And reverse. So as I'm coming up through here, I'm putting the weight here. And again, I'm not leaning here, there's no movement here. And again, back to just a nice, easy pelvic tilt. Pull in, release. Yeah? So let's run through all the circles that we've done. We'll start from the beginning and we'll work our way through. So, feet, feet where they're comfortable to you. Make sure that you feel comfortable when you're dancing. You don't want to be out here when you're doing movements that don't require you to be out here, and you don't want to be here because then you're not balanced well. So let's find the place that's comfortable for you, and we'll start to circle. And of course, every movement that I'm doing is not going to look the same on you because every body type is different. So you want a close approximation, but it doesn't have to be exact. And reverse. And breathe. And again, it should be kind of fun. And let's take it smaller circles, feet slightly closer together. Just circling around the center. And reverse. And now we're going to take a big circle. I'm going to take a step from the front to the side. My hands together. Take it this way. Around and together. And now we're going to take figure eights, push to the side, up and over and through. The heels coming off the floor. Yeah, and now we're going to reverse that. The hip on the inside goes up and over. And now we're going to do just circles with one hip, one direction, and starting from the outside, the in direction. And take it over here, the inside. And we'll reverse that. And the African circle. Knees bent, up, side, release, side. Contract, side, release, side. And reverse. Yeah, we'll take it up. Big breath and release.